Hello everyone. Welcome to SB School of Humanities. This is a new channel started for purpose of authentic educational content in simple and lucid language. In this series, we are going to discuss different topics of media communications which starts from understanding the basic concept of communication. We will learn what is communication and its process in today's session. Before starting, kindly subscribe to the channel to get more content like this and hit bell button so that you don't miss notifications. Now, let's start. Communication is a fundamental aspect of human interaction that has been around since the dawn of civilization. It is a process that involves the exchange of information, ideas, and thoughts between two or more individuals. The word communication is derived from the Latin word communis, which means to make common. This highlights the importance of shared understanding and commonality in the communication process. At its simplest level, communication involves understanding what someone conveys and means and in turn making someone else understand what you mean. However, this process is not always straightforward, and there are many factors that can impact the effectiveness of communication. For instance, differences in language, culture, and background can all create barriers to effective communication. To overcome these barriers, it is important for some basic understanding to exist, which is possible only when the two people feel and think about that subject on common lines. The more the commonness between two people, the better their communication gets. This is why effective communication often requires empathy, active listening, and a willingness to understand the other person's perspective. For example, imagine a scenario where a doctor is communicating with a patient about their medical condition. If the doctor uses medical jargon that the patient does not understand, the communication will be ineffective. However, if the doctor takes the time to explain the condition in simple terms and actively listens to the patient's concerns, the communication will be much more effective. Similarly, in a business setting, effective communication is essential for success. For instance, if a manager is communicating with their team about a new project, they need to ensure that everyone understands the goals, timelines, and expectations. If there is any confusion or misunderstanding, it can lead to delays, mistakes, and ultimately, a failure to achieve the desired outcomes. In conclusion, communication is a complex and multifaceted process that is essential for human interaction. It requires shared understanding, empathy, active listening, and a willingness to understand the other person's perspective. By improving our communication skills, we can build stronger relationships, achieve better outcomes, and ultimately, lead more fulfilling lives. Communication is a fundamental requirement for all living creatures, just like food and shelter. It is a natural instinct that enables individuals to interact with their surroundings and communicate with others in their community. From the evening call of the birds to the barking of dogs in a fight when a non-part enters their territory, communication is an essential part of the animal kingdom. Even the dance of the bumblebees is a form of communication that helps them pass on information about the location of nectar to other members of their community. For humans, communication is not just a natural instinct but also a social and individual need. As social creatures, humans require communication to interact with others and form meaningful relationships. No normal person can exist in isolation, regardless of their age, gender, or interests. Communication is essential for human survival, growth, and development. Effective communication is essential for building strong relationships, whether it is between family members, friends, or colleagues. For example, imagine a scenario where a couple is having a disagreement. If they are unable to communicate effectively, the disagreement can escalate into a full-blown argument, causing damage to their relationship. However, if they are able to communicate their thoughts and feelings in a calm and respectful manner, they can resolve the disagreement and strengthen their relationship. Similarly, effective communication is essential in the workplace. For instance, imagine a scenario where a team is working on a project. If the team members are unable to communicate effectively, it can lead to misunderstandings, delays, and ultimately, a failure to achieve the desired outcomes. However, If the team members are able to communicate clearly and effectively, they can work together to achieve their goals and deliver high-quality results. Communication is also essential for personal growth and development. For example, imagine a scenario where a person is struggling with a personal issue. If they are unable to communicate their thoughts and feelings to others, they may feel isolated and alone, which can lead to further emotional distress. However, if they are able to communicate their thoughts and feelings to a trusted friend or family member, they can receive the support and guidance they need to overcome their struggles. In conclusion, communication is a fundamental requirement for all living creatures, including humans. It is a natural instinct that enables individuals to interact with their surroundings and communicate with others in their community. Effective communication is essential for building strong relationships, achieving success in the workplace, and personal growth and development. By improving our communication skills, we can build stronger relationships, achieve better outcomes, and ultimately, lead more fulfilling lives. Communication is the transmission of data or messages from a sender to a receiver through a chosen channel, overcoming any barriers that may affect its speed. The process of communication is a cyclic one, starting with the sender and ending with feedback from the receiver. It occurs vertically, horizontally, and diagonally throughout the organization, making it a continuous and dynamic process that is influenced by many factors. The communication process consists of specific steps, each of which is essential for effective communication. These steps include the sender encoding the message, choosing the appropriate channel, transmitting the message, the receiver decoding the message, and providing feedback to the sender. Each step builds the foundation for effective communication, and any breakdown in the process can lead to misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and communication failures. Effective communication is essential for building strong relationships, achieving success in the workplace, and personal growth and development. By improving our communication skills, we can build stronger relationships, achieve better outcomes, and ultimately, lead more fulfilling lives. In conclusion, the process of communication is a cyclic one that involves the transmission of data or messages from a sender to a receiver through a chosen channel. It is a continuous and dynamic process that is influenced by many factors. Effective communication requires specific steps, each of which is essential for successful communication. By improving our communication skills, we can build stronger relationships, achieve better outcomes, and ultimately, lead more fulfilling lives. The sender and the message. These elements play a crucial role in the overall communication process, and understanding their significance can greatly enhance our ability to communicate effectively. Sender. The sender is the individual who initiates the communication process by conveying a message. This message can take various forms, such as an idea, thought, image, report, request, or even a fleeting smile. The sender is responsible for generating the content they wish to communicate and encoding it in a manner that can be easily understood by the recipient. In order to ensure effective communication, the sender must consider several factors. First, they must be aware of their audience and tailor their message accordingly. This may involve adjusting the language, tone, or style of the message to suit the recipient's preferences and needs. Additionally, the sender must be mindful of potential barriers to communication, such as cultural differences, language barriers, or distractions, and take steps to minimize their impact. Message. The message is the heart of communication. It is the information or content that the sender wishes to convey to the recipient. Messages can be verbal, including both written and spoken forms, or nonverbal, such as pictorial or symbolic representations. The effectiveness of a message depends on several factors. Clarity is paramount, as a clear and concise message is more likely to be understood and retained by the recipient. The message should also be relevant and engaging, capturing the recipient's attention and addressing their needs or interests. Furthermore, the message should be organized in a logical and coherent manner, with a clear beginning, middle, and end. In addition to these factors, the choice of medium can also impact the effectiveness of a message. For example, a complex or detailed message may be better suited to a written format, while a simple or urgent message may be more effectively conveyed through speech. The sender must carefully consider the most appropriate medium for their message, taking into account the nature of the content and the preferences of the recipient. Encoding and the communication channel. These two elements are the follow-up of sender and message. Encoding. Encoding is the process of converting the intended message into a format that can be transmitted through a chosen medium. This format can be verbal or nonverbal, depending on the context, timing, and nature of the message. The sender transforms the message into a series of symbols, images, or words that can be easily understood by the intended recipient. The encoding process is a vital stage in the communication process, as incorrect or inappropriate encoding can undermine the true intent of the message. To ensure effective encoding, the sender must consider several factors, including the recipient's preferences, cultural background, and language proficiency. Additionally, the sender should be mindful of potential barriers to communication, such as distractions, noise, or technical issues, and take steps to minimize their impact. Channel. The communication channel refers to the pathway or mode through which the message is transmitted. This channel connects the sender and the recipient, facilitating the exchange of information. Messages can be conveyed through various channels, including oral or written forms, and transmitted via mediums such as posters, computers, telephones, mobile devices, applications, or televisions. Each communication channel has its advantages and disadvantages, making the choice of an appropriate channel crucial for effective communication. Factors to consider when selecting a channel include the nature of the message, the preferences of the recipient, the urgency of the communication, and the availability of resources. For example, a complex or sensitive message may be better suited to a face-to-face conversation, while a simple or time-sensitive message may be more effectively conveyed through a text message or email. Conclusion. In conclusion, encoding and the communication channel are two fundamental elements of the communication process. Encoding involves converting the intended message into a format that can be transmitted, while the communication channel refers to the pathway through which the message is conveyed. By understanding the importance of these elements and taking steps to optimize their effectiveness, we can greatly enhance our ability to communicate with others. Receiver. The receiver is the individual or group for whom the message is intended. They can be an audience, reader, or viewer, and their role is just as crucial as that of the sender. The receiver's ability to understand and interpret the message determines the effectiveness of the communication process. Any negligence on the part of the receiver can render the communication ineffective. To ensure effective communication, the receiver must be in a receptive state, with an active channel of communication and an absence of distractions or competing thoughts. The receiver's ability to interpret the message depends on several factors, including their knowledge of the subject matter, their level of education, their trust in the sender, and their relationship with the sender. The receiver's role in the communication process is to decode the message, which involves interpreting the symbols, images, or words used by the sender. This process can be influenced by several factors, including the receiver's cultural background, language proficiency, and personal biases. To ensure effective decoding, the receiver must be mindful of potential barriers to communication, such as language differences, technical jargon, or cultural nuances, and take steps to overcome them. Feedback is another critical aspect of the receiver's role in the communication process. Feedback involves the receiver providing a response to the sender, indicating their understanding of the message and any questions or concerns they may have. This feedback can be verbal or nonverbal and is essential for ensuring that the sender's intended message has been received and understood. In conclusion, the receiver is a crucial element of the communication process, and their role in interpreting and decoding the message is just as important as that of the sender. To ensure effective communication, the receiver must be in a receptive state, with an active channel of communication and an absence of distractions or competing thoughts. Additionally, the receiver must be mindful of potential barriers to communication and provide feedback to the sender to ensure that the intended message has been received and understood. Decoding. Decoding is the process of interpreting or converting the received message into understandable language. It involves understanding the message and attempting to comprehend it in the best possible way. The receiver, after receiving the message, interprets it and tries to understand it in the most effective way. The decoding process can be influenced by several factors, including the receiver's cultural background, language proficiency, and personal biases. To ensure effective decoding, the receiver must be mindful of potential barriers to communication, such as language differences, technical jargon, or cultural nuances, and take steps to overcome them. Effective decoding is crucial for ensuring that the intended message has been received and understood. It is the opposite of encoding and involves the receiver interpreting the symbols, images, or words used by the sender. Feedback. Feedback is the ultimate component of the communication process. It refers to the response of the receiver regarding the message sent to them by the sender. Feedback is essential to ensure that the message has been effectively encoded, sent, decoded, and understood. Feedback can take various forms, including verbal or nonverbal responses, and is crucial for ensuring effective communication. It allows the sender to gauge the effectiveness of their message and make any necessary adjustments to improve communication. Feedback also allows the receiver to clarify any misunderstandings or ask questions to ensure that they have understood the message correctly. Effective feedback is a two-way process, with both the sender and receiver actively participating in the communication process. It is essential for building trust and fostering effective communication between individuals or groups. In conclusion, decoding and feedback are two critical elements of the communication process. Decoding involves interpreting or converting the received message into understandable language, while feedback refers to the response of the receiver regarding the message sent to them by the sender. By understanding the importance of these elements and taking steps to optimize their effectiveness, we can greatly enhance our ability to communicate with others. In the context of communication, noise refers to any interference or distortion that affects the transmission or reception of a message. Noise can occur at any stage of the communication process and can take various forms, including physical, semantic, psychological, and cultural. One example of noise in the communication process is physical noise. Physical noise refers to any external factors that interfere with the transmission or reception of a message. For instance, if you are trying to have a conversation with someone in a noisy environment, such as a construction site or a busy street, the background noise can make it difficult to hear and understand each other. Similarly, if you are trying to communicate with someone over a poor quality phone line or a slow internet connection, the transmission may be distorted, making it difficult to understand the message. Another example of noise in the communication process is semantic noise. Semantic noise refers to any issues with the language or symbols used in the message. For example, if you are trying to communicate with someone who speaks a different language or uses technical jargon that you are not familiar with, you may have difficulty understanding the message. Similarly, if the sender uses ambiguous or unclear language, it can be challenging to interpret the message correctly. Noise can have a significant impact on the effectiveness of communication. It can lead to misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and miscommunication, which can have serious consequences in personal and professional relationships. To minimize the impact of noise, it is essential to identify the type of noise and take steps to overcome it. For example, if you are communicating in a noisy environment, you may need to find a quieter location or use noise-cancelling headphones. If you are communicating with someone who speaks a different language, you may need to use a translator or learn the language yourself. In conclusion, noise is any interference or distortion that affects the transmission or reception of a message in the communication process. It can occur at any stage of the process and can take various forms, including physical, semantic, psychological, and cultural. By understanding the different types of noise and taking steps to minimize their impact, we can greatly enhance our ability to communicate effectively. We will study the noise and types of noise in detail in a separate video. That's all for today. Before you leave, please like, share, comment and subscribe to SB School of Humanities. Support us to bring more educational content to you in simple and lucid language. Signing off. Have a nice day.